How's it going, YouTube? This is Adiar, and this is going to be a build guide for Mind Control Thea 3 for your Season 9 Outlaw starter. I prefer to build Thea with an emphasis on movement speed and just enough damage to do the content that we're doing. As you can see in the clips, the Mind Control setup that I use is fairly speedy, going through time mark 8 maps, which is where you generally want to get to early games so you can farm out your early FE. I would recommend that once you farmed out, you swap to a stronger late game build. But if you are a part of the Mind Control cult and would really like to push this, you do have the option to do so. I'm going to break down as much as I can for this build for you and try to do it in a very succinct amount of time. Timestamps below. Like and follow if you're rocking with the content. Let's go. I've got a lot of things to go through in regard to this build. I'm going to do a very short section on just the campaign leveling. The campaign is fairly simple. I'll detail I'll just go over the trees that I suggest that you're going to be using while going through that. But the bulk of this is really just going to be about your mapping and your mind control setup. I've got your talent trees. I've got gearing options. I've got some early uniques that you might want to look into. We've got soul candles. We've got belt blending options. We've got tower sequence. We've got how to craft your weapons early. We've got all of that coming for you. So without further ado, let's start with the leveling section. You're going to start with Haunting Abomination at level 1 on Thea 3, and that is going to be just generally going to be the skill that I suggest that you go through the game with on her. For your leveling talent trees, I'm going to suggest that you go Goddess of Deception first, followed by Shadow Master, and then Lich. I don't believe that you should be on Haunting Abomination long enough to get to your 4th and final, so I have not included that here. For your choices of your core talents, I would suggest taking Mixture first, followed by Forbidden Power second in the Goddess of Deception tree. Going into Shadow Master, we're going to be taking Dirt for the 15% additional damage and the 15% additional damage applied to life. And lastly, for Lich, we're going to be taking going into Lich, we're going to be taking Indifference. You don't really have a lot of energy early, so this is just some extra damage. If you want to take this and push this past level 55, and you really open up your auras, you could go ahead and just take Off the Beaten Track just to try to fit some more auras in. But generally, I would advise once you get into your maps that you very much consider swapping over to Mind Control as soon as you can. Now, for your treasure vaults, there's going to be a lot of different treasure vaults that you're going to want to pay attention to while going through the campaign. There are 4 that I want to really highlight for Thea 3 in particular. Treasure Vault number 3 is going to give you the Scepter of Excommunication. You're going to want to farm 2 of these. They are fantastic. These will carry you for quite a while until you can get upgrades going into your early maps. Treasure Vault 4 will contain Unholy Prayer. Treasure Vault 5 contains Chain of Resistance, Corrupted Marrow, and Claydoll's Finger. I would suggest getting all of those. And then finally, Treasure Vault 6 has Prayer Bead of Evil and Gauze of Phantom Sin. All of this is fantastic. Thea 3 has probably one of, if not the single best collection of items in the treasure vault going through the campaign of any character, maybe only dethroned by Rosa 2 when she gets put in tomorrow. I don't know what Rosa 2's vaults looks like, but compared to basically every other character, her treasure vaults are leagues ahead of everything else. They will carry you so far into mapping, it's actually insane. While you're leveling on Haunting Abomination, you're going to want to focus just on general damage, deterioration chance, deterioration damage, cast speed. Haunting Abomination is a spell that does hit damage, and then you're just using deterioration to do additional damage based on your hit damage. And that's pretty simple for how you're going to want to go through the game for the campaign. It's really, really simple. It's really fast. It kind of holds your hand a little bit, so you shouldn't have too many problems there. Moving on to the actual mind control setup. This is going to be the nitty gritty and the bulk of the video. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about the talent tree selections that I have for you. For the talent tree for mind control, my suggestion for the way that I like to build out mind control is going to be God of Deception as your primary talent tree, followed by Psychic. Your 3rd talent tree is going to be Lich. And then the 4th talent tree is going to be a toss up and a little bit up in the air. Elementalist is going to be if you want to go for more damage, that way you can go ahead and get more channel stacks. Steel Vanguard is going to be more defensiveness. And if I have not been able to run the numbers on this, and I do apologize, but if the new erosion focus turns out to be really good for mind control, Steel Vanguard will be even more important because this is the only tree that really interacts with focus. So just be mindful of that. Your fourth tree is going to be it's going to be player's choice. You do get free respecs on all of your skills up and including to level 90. So until you hit level 91, you can freely respec however much you want to, and it will not be a problem. Afterwards, you'll have to use the little purple juices to undo your points. For Goddess of Deception on the core talents, my suggestion is going to be Mixture, followed by Subtle Impact. We're leaning into Blur pretty heavily with the way that I set this up. On Psychic, you're going to be taking Reap Purification with Mind Control. We care about the amount of reaps that we have, and we care about the cooldown of our reaps. We do not care about duration of reaps. It's just the amount of reaps you can get. So every single instance of reap on your gear, you want as many as you can get, and then you want cooldown recovery. You do not care about duration. Moving into the Lich Tree, we're going to be taking Off the Beaten Track. We are going to be running 4 auras, 3 of which are going to be 50% auras. If you opt to go Elementalist, your core talent choice is going to be Focus. And if you opt to go for Steel Vanguard, your core talent choice is going to be Reflection. Or is it like this is the Steel Vanguard is really the pick and choose what you really want. If you want some more damage, get Reflection. If you want some more resistances, get Resistance. And if the erosion focus winds up being very solid for the build, you could also opt to grab Knowledgeable. For the actual talent tree points and my suggestions for those, I'm going to show you I'm going to highlight in red the first 24 points that I think are going to be the most important in regard to each tree. And then I'll also highlight some things that I think you should go back and get after you've been able to fill it in the primary 24 to access all of your core talents within your trees. So for the main deception, we're going to be getting the 9% and the 18% damage. Afterward, we're going to get the 9% damage and the 100% chance to gain Blur on defeat. At the level 12 option, we're going to be getting the Affliction per second damage over time, and we're going to finish out that wheel getting the +1 persistent skill level. Under that, we're going to be getting the Dexterity and Intelligence nodes and the Intelligence and Dexterity larger nodes. And those would be the focus on what I would want to get in my first 24 points in this tree. At some point, you're going to want to come back and get the bottom right talents, which are the erosion damage and the additional damage applied to life. For the psychic tree, I recommend getting the 2 damage over time nodes up top, so the 9 and the 8%. Afterward, I suggest you go to the bottom and get the affliction effect and the 12% affliction effect. Up top, we're going to get the entire reaping cooldown recovery line, so 12, 15, and 18, we're going to get all of that. And then we're also going to get under that the affliction per second affliction effect combo. And then we're going to get the legendary node that gives us -8 to all resistances when an enemy is at max affliction. Later on, you could also consider coming back and grabbing the blur effect and the blur movement speed. You can also come down and get the damage over time and the additional damage over time if you've defeated an enemy recently. Those would be some pretty key things I would want to come back and get once I've gotten all of my core talents. For Lich, you're going to want to get the Hybrid Life and Energy Shield. Afterward, we're going to get Affliction Effect and Affliction Effect and minus skill cost. Afterward, we're going to get all 3 of the +5 to stat nodes, and then we're going to get 2 of the 3 +10 to all stat nodes. We're only going to get 2 for now. You can come back and grab the 3rd later. You're going to want to get 3 1.5% sealed mana compensations. If you find that you need more to fit your aura on life, you can go ahead and shift some points to get extra mana compensation. Adjust this as needed for your build. Eventually, you'll find that you don't need those points, so you can remove those and place them elsewhere. And then I would finish out the main 24, getting the Hybrid Life and the Hybrid Life and Energy Shield nodes, and then the 10% additional damage when both having sealed mana and life, because we will have both of those. This will be an energy shield based character. All of your life will essentially be used to reserve your 3rd 50% aura. Coming back once you've got all your core talents, I would fill in more of the energy shield and the charge speed, the max energy shield and blur when your charge starts, followed with more blur effect and blur effect per life lost. If you decide to go elementalist, You're going to be taking the damage for channeled skills 9 and 18 nodes. You're going to take the hybrid life energy shield 3 and 6 nodes. You're going to take the 3 points for attack and cast speed for channeled skills. We're taking that just so we can get access to the medium talent afterward, which is 6% damage for every +1 max channeled stacks that you have. And then you want to get the max channeled legendary at the end of that line. I would also get the 8% the 8 flat intelligence and the 15% intelligence once you get all 3 of those as well. The steel vanguard tree is the one that is the most up in the air. I would definitely get the life and the energy shield. I would definitely get the reduced elemental damage taken line, and I would probably also get the damage and additional damage applied to lifeline. After that, it's really just going to be a mix and match of what you need for your build based on your gear. If you need elemental resistances, you can take those. If you need erosion resistance, you can take that. You can grab the aura effect if you'd like to. You can also grab the barrier shield if you'd like to do that as well. If we find that the erosion focus is good, you also got the focus speed nodes that you can take there and add those into the build. Again, Steel Vanguard is the one that's most up in the air. It's the most fluid of the 4th tree options, and it's really just take what you need to fill the gaps on your build at this time. Now, let's talk about gearing out your build. I'm going to go slot by slot, and if there's any legendaries that stand out to me that you could probably pick up early in the game, I'll go ahead and highlight those. Please note that after I move on to a section, just pretend in your mind that I said or crafted gear, because everything, pretty much anything, can just be replaced with crafted gear if you're not able to access the legendaries. In the helmet slot, there's only one thing that I would really recommend getting other than a crafted item, and that's going to be Hakat's Vision. It's really good. It increases your curse area. It gives you DR. It gives you extra damage. And I really like this as an early starting item. For your chest piece, Undying Faith, Corrupted Bulwark, and Twilight Vestment are all going to be really solid options, with Twilight Vestment typically being the option that people will choose for mind control, but all 3 of them have merit. For the amulet slot, we're going to go Chain Behind the Curtain, or if you're able to get a False Gods with intelligence on it, that would be great. There's nothing in the glove slot that really stands out to me, so for belts, we're just going to move there. For belts, Light Hunter belt is really strong. This may be really expensive, however, it is extremely strong. And then Eternal Sea Fog works really well since we're leaning heavily into blur with this build. For boots, you really just want to get King's Boon or crafted boots. King's Boon has been nerfed, but there's really no replacement for them. Rings, you want to go Traceless Pain or Heart of Magic. You can also mix the two, or you could go crafted if you need more resistances. For weapons, you're going to want Oversight, or you can just use Scepter of Excommunication if you can find them with energy on them. They will be like the lowest on the totem pole in regard to weapons, though. 2 Oversights will carry you for a very long time. They also tend to be very cheap, very expensive early on. So, you know, if you're able to snipe one for cheap, maybe grab one. When crafting your weapons, you really want to look for a specific set of things on your weapons. If you're going to want to use scepters, you're going to want to use intelligence. You're looking for a reap. The reap, you don't really, again, with reap, you don't care about the duration, so we don't actually care what tier reap you get. You just care that you have reap on the weapon. You want to go affliction per second, erosion damage, affliction effect. And then for your last prefix, you can go energy shield. I like to go flat energy shield. It's really, really strong. You can also just go for more damage up there. If you're in the market for a belt and you're looking for some early belt blending options, the ones that stand out to me are going to be max channel stacks, reaping cooldown recovery speed, or +1 to all skill levels. All 3 of these benefit the build greatly, and you'll definitely feel them when you put them on. There's a lot of early basic tower sequences for scepters that really stood out to me, so I'll just go through the entire list of those right now. 10% additional all stats is really great. Intelligence is a multiplier for mind control, so getting 10% more intelligence is just going to be fantastic. 10% additional damage over time, it's exactly what it says on the 10. 15% additional affliction effect. There is one that gives you 20 affliction per second and then 40 affliction effect. And then lastly, we have 40 reaping cooldown recovery speed. For your candles, for your soul candles, there's a couple of things that really stand out to me. For every 1 channeled stack, 7% channeled skill damage, 10% additional erosion damage, 3% additional damage for every 8 meters of movement, since we're always moving with mind control. Getting life and energy shield on defeat candles can feel really solid and make mapping feel much, much smoother. And then, of course, the Rampage Candle, which gives you 1% damage, 1% area, and 1% movement speed for every enemy you've defeated recently, and this stacks up to 20 times. Moving into slates, for Goddess of Knowledge, there's a legendary that you could get from the Elementalist on Goddess of Knowledge slates that gives you the +1 channel skill. That would be the only one that stands out there. For the rest of your slates, the things that really stand out to me in regard to legendary talents would be the following. 8% additional damage applied to life, +1 erosion skill level, reaping cooldown recovery speed. Upon dealing damage to a cursed target, there's a 25% chance to paralyze it. 8% additional damage against cursed enemies, blur effect for every 1% of life lost, +1 all skills level, 10% additional damage while having both sealed mana and life, and finally 10% movement speed while blur is active. All of these are going to be on Goddess of Deception slates. And of course, these are just going to be the top end talents that you can find on slates. Early on, your slates, just roll them or get whatever you can get that really works for the build. Get some ES, get 9% damage. Early on, just fill the slates in. It's better to have a bunch of blue mods on your slates than have an empty slate slot. So just fill that in. I promise you, even if you have a bunch of blue mods on your slates, it makes a ton of difference on your character survivability and life and damage and everything. Moving into the actual links for the character, on your mind control, my suggestion is going to be Guard, Passive Evasion, Cataclysm, Control Spell, and then finally Short Duration. Afterward, I suggest that you use a Speed Phantom. I like Speed Phantom just because it gives you some extra damage whenever you land near enemies. For this, we're going to be adding Quick Mobility, Mass Effect, and cooldown reduction. Next, we're going to go Blurry Steps, going with the Speedy Thea theme. For the supports for this, we're going to be using Extended Duration, Preparation, and Mass Effect. We are an Energy Shield build, and for an extra tankiness or extra survivability, I recommend using Forced Start. If you don't like or don't want to use Forced Start, you can replace this with an additional damage or a different defensive utility option here. My link recommendations in regard to Forced Start are going to be Defense Layers, Cooldown Reduction, and Extended Duration. And lastly, of course, we are going to be having a curse. We're going to be using the Corruption Curse. For your supports for here, we're going to be using Terrain of Malice, Preparation, and Extended Duration. For this build, we are going to be using all 4 of the aura slots. We're going to be using a Swiftness aura, and then we're going to be using 3 individual 50% auras. With the Off the Beaten Track and the extra mana sealed that we can get in that tree, we are able to fit all of these, including 150% on the life. The auras that I would recommend for damage would be Erosion Enhancement, Deep Pain, and then Spell Amplification. If you'd like to replace any of these, you can, and you could add in an aura for Energy Shield and Max Energy Shield. You could add in an aura for Elemental Resistance and Reduced Elemental Damage taken as well. It's really up to you. I'm just going to cover that. The actual link setup is going to be the same regardless. So every single aura that you have on your mana, you're going to have 2 supports. You're going to have a Restrain, and you're going to have an Aura Amplification. For the aura that you place on your life, which is going to be one of the 50% auras that you choose to take, your supports are going to be Restrain, Aura Amplification, and Seal Conversion. And that's going to be my quick guide to Thea 3. Hopefully, I've given you all the information that you need in regard to how to put the build together and get it to function. If you've got any questions in regard to this build, please feel free to drop a comment down below on the video and I'll get to you as soon as I can. And if you've got more than one question, or if you just want to ask me about anything regarding Torchlight, down in the description, I have a link to my Discord. I'm always active and always looking to answer questions that anybody has, or just talk about Torchlight or other games. So join me there if you'd like. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subbing to the channel. I do put a lot of work into the things that I do on this channel, and basically all of my free time has been Torchlight, trying to get diets out for everybody in regard to the prep. And I hope that it's appreciated, and I hope that you all enjoy everything that's coming out. And I look forward to seeing you all at League Start. I will be streaming both on Twitch and YouTube, of course, as always. So come hang out and say hey. I'm Adiar. Have a good League Start with everybody. Bye-bye.